I'm going to be joined shortly by Donald Morris here on the Tom Ficklin Show. And Donald's going to share with you and us, and really the world, information regarding the upcoming Gospel Fest here in New Haven in early August. But also we're going to walk down memory lane a little bit regarding Donald's efforts and prayers and commitment to New Haven, really over the last several decades, and several meaning more than two. Certainly, as I said, the Gospel Fest. Also, he might share a little bit about his creativity regarding the regarding Brothers Getting Busy. Donald's coming on shortly. Brothers Getting Busy, unity in the community, and a variety of other prayer walks, et cetera, et cetera. So just don't go away. Donald's signing in as we speak. Donald, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning and afternoon to you.
Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you
Okay.
as the old people would say. We can lay eyes on one another.
Okay.
Lay eyes on one another. I was just chatting with folks that you would be signing in, and although we could start talking about the Gospel Fest that's upcoming, but also I'm so pleased that you're going to allow me to walk you down memory lane in terms of Brothers Getting Busy, unity in the community, obviously the Gospel Fest. We mentioned the prayer walks, and also even when you referenced to me a few days ago when you were on the green with in terms of not the Poor People's March, but just back in the late 60s. So let's get started and kind of clue people in terms of this exciting upcoming activity at the Gospel Fest. This is your 27th year?
Yes, this is the 27th, yes. 27th year. We started in 1997. 1997. We started in 97, incorporating the Christian, well, I got to get it right in terms of the organization, in terms of the Christian Community Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And So, yeah, we incorporated in 96. And it came together mainly with four churches.
Mm.
And The reason at that time, because you historically have been involved in a number of experiences here in New Haven, but we were watching in the 90s how they had so many homicides.
Mm.
They had a homicide almost every day, a funeral every other day. And What it was that I had been there one time before with Brothers Getting Busy back maybe 89 and 90, but it seemed like in 96, 97, again, it began to rise again, the shooting.
Yes.
And and I had joined Wayfaring Ministry in Hams at that time in the 90s. And one of my thoughts was that uh, if we in the church were going to talk about moral obligations and foundations that the churches were preaching about every Sunday, what good would it be to just do it consistently inside the walls?
Yes.
The creation of the Christian Community Commission came alive between myself, Apostle Brunson, Reverend Scott Marks, um, and Miracle Temple, which was Pastor Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that what we would do as the churches was begin doing prayer walks into the
Yes.
neighborhoods where the
Yes.
violence was.
Yes. And take us fast forward to the dates again. I want to tease. We'll mention several times what's this upcoming exciting event you have at the Gulf Street Park.
Okay, so you want me give you the dates of the festival this year,
Yeah,
or
yes,
going
this
still back?
year.
Well, we're still back in history.
We'll go back in history, but I want to tease people throughout so they can jot down and not forget what's upcoming. So it's
Okay, the upcoming festival will be August the 3rd and the 4th back at Gulf Street Park. This will be the 27th year, and each day it will begin from 1 o'clock to 8:30 in the evening on both days. There will be a early morning park service from 11 to 1 on Sunday, August the 4th.
Hmm. And tease people with some of the performers. I mean, when I looked every year, it's been a tremendous lineup and just super kudos to you year after year after year. And not to say that this year is going to be one of the best, but this year you got some highlights, man. You got some stars coming in.
Yeah, we're honored to be able to have this year on Saturday. First of all, there's going to be 25 other artists that are going to be performing during the course of the 2 days. But on
Hmm.
Saturday, August the 3rd, will be um, uh, Bishop Norman Hutchins. He's a national performer that will be going on at 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after Bishop Norman Hutchins will be J.J. Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
And he's won a number of awards and Grammys. And so he'll be closing the park on Saturday at 7:45. On Sunday, you'll begin to get, the stage presentations of a number of different artists, a lot of quartet groups, if you like
Mm-hmm.
quartet, and,
Mm-hmm.
a number of other artists that we're going to be having. But at 7 o'clock, the national performing group will be women, and they're called Risen, and they go on at 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And the nationally acclaimed, award-winning Luther Barnes will be closing the park at 7:45.
Boy, that gives me a chill. I tell you, it crosses the genres and the age groups and just our musical magic. That's just really fascinating. Really
Yeah, and
fascinating.
we got a little gospel hip hop for the young people on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Between the hours of there's actually going to be a contest between 5 and 6:30 for the young people to come out and so we can articulate gospel in the hip hop musical form.
See, that's fantastic. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and take me back to the New Haven Green. It must have been in the late 70s when
Yes.
take me back there, and then we'll go to Brothers Getting Busy, the unity in the community. It's really important as you and I get in our younger days, and as our spirit gets younger. I won't talk about what the body is trying to do to us, but as our spirit gets younger, to remind folks,
Yeah.
you're a walking testimony to commitment and passion. But even I had forgotten about you're on the green 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I have the clipping right here, the actual clipping. I don't know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, this was on the green. This was the turnout on the green on May the 15th, 1977.
Mm.
Um, Again, Tom, I've always believed that self-help is the key to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe that today. Um, I think that we depend too much on people coming in to try to save us and try to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves. I always believed that as a young man at 29 years old, because that's how old I was when I was at the helm of organizing that, along with Mike Branch, Rose Harrison, and Freddie Perez. But I have to give kudos to the Hill Neighborhood Corporation and
Mm-hmm.
the Latino Youth Development at that same time.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Barnes and all of them that I was a part of. Um, I was being groomed in the community because I was mentored by John Barber.
Yes,
If you
yes.
mentored John Barber, he wrote most of, maybe Martin Luther King's, speeches.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a graduate of Yale.
Yes.
And what happened was that at that age, young age, Roger Everson thought I should be assigned to John Barber,
Mm.
to learn more about organizing and how to outreach and things of that nature. So anyway, to make a long story short, as you know, in the 70s, the New Haven Green in our city was quiet,
Mm. Yes.
quiet.
Yes.
New Haven, it was always a quiet city. I was born and raised here, as a matter of fact. So I want to
Mhm.
say that.
Yes.
But it always been like a college town, quiet town. Um, we didn't have a lot of violence on our streets back in the 70s that we've been experiencing over the last 25, 30 years. Um, it was um, it was on my heart, and Rose and all the rest of us. We thought that there should be a rally for poor people. Now we use the
Mm.
name poor people, not just like for poor people, but minority, whether you're black, white, it really didn't make a difference. And I
Hmm.
can tell you the story about a short story about that. And
Sure,
I give
sure.
God the glory. I really give God the glory about it.
Hmm.
Um, that day, first of all, before we actually had the rally uh, in 77, in I think it was in April, March, April, we were saying, how are we going to organize this? And I always had a relationship with the street community, the
Hmm.
DJs, the club owners, and me and Roger Everson and Kenny Kenslers and all those that I had
Hmm.
kind of grew up with. I had kind of a good relationship. So I went around and said, listen, we need to get something on the New Haven Green that brings us together in the form of unity to outreach to make the people who feel like unforgotten or left out. Let's have a rally of unity on the green. So um, everybody was catching on to it. I was energetic, you know what I mean? Moving a lot in the community. So uh, the first big meeting for the gathering was actually at a club on Winchester Avenue at the Oasis Club.
Mm-hmm. Mudhole.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And so the day of the meeting, and we invited pastors, we invited some of the older people, we invited, some of the community, a lot of community people. Well, needless to say, when I pulled up on Winchester Avenue, um, at that age, I was really nervous
Yes.
because cars were packing the street. And I questioned myself, even at that time, what gave me the authority to do things? What
Mm,
what what gave me the drive?
mm.
I asked myself that question because I got nervous. Because I knew now with all those cars out there and all these people inside this building, I was now going into a place where I had to explain why this gathering was coming together.
Yes.
Even though I had Mike Branch with me and I had Rose Harris with me and I had my little back in. But when I got to the door of the Oasis Club, there was a reporter out
Mm,
in front of the door.
mm,
And what made me even more nervous, he says, "Are you Donald Morris?"
mm,
And I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "I am Donald Morris." He said, "Well, let me ask you a question. What are you billing this meeting about?
mm, mm.
What are you trying to do? And here's what he said: Is it like unity in the community?" I said, "Yeah,
Mm,
that's what it is.
mm,
It's
mm,
called unity in the community."
mm,
So it's actually a reporter that
mm,
built the name
mhm.
unity in the community by suggesting is this what you're
Yes.
calling it?
Yes. Good.
And at that night, so make a long story short, we talked about it and stuff like that. And so make a long story short, May the 15th was the event.
Mm,
May the 15th, everybody was touching and agreeing. Certainly had the backing of my neighborhood corporation and other people, that I had, met along the way, all the club owners and street people and people I had met along the way. Um, so here it was, May the 15th, that day, I went to my mother's house. I said, "Ma, listen, I'm going into the New Haven Green and we're going to be organizing an event." My mother said to me, "Donald, be careful, son.
mm, mm,
Be careful." She said, "I'm proud of you."
mm,
And now she was living on Munson Street at the time. And I
mhm,
said, "Mom, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down and get things started. But when things get started, I'll be back to pick you up to bring you down to the event."
mm, mhm,
I drove down by the New Haven Green in a deuce and a quarter. My mother's car, deuce in the corner. And I pulled up across the street from the courthouse on the other side by the green. Now, yeah, that during that time downtown was quiet. You could drop a dime on the ground and hear it.
Right, right.
I got on the sidewalk in a brand new suit and everything I had bought the night before, day before. And so I got in the back of the car for a minute. I had a Bible, and I had prayer. I wasn't really, I don't know at that time if I really had that kind of relationship with God the way I do now. But anyway, I know Mama was a Christian woman, so had a little prayer. Got the car. I walked to the corner of Temple Street in Temple. You remember those boxes that were on the pole for police department at that time?
Yes, yes,
They had call boxes.
yes.
So I seen a police car pull up. He got out the car and he was on the call box. And somebody must have said to him, "Is there any movement on the green?" Because there was a stage there that the park department had put up there, but there was nothing, it was blank, just a stage.
Yeah.
And so I guess, he says, "Well, no, I see a gentleman, a young guy here. That must be Morris," is what he said. So I turned around and here what it was. I looked out in the field. It's 2 o'clock, and the event was supposed to start at 2:30. Nobody's there. So I'm nervous, but I wasn't really nervous for myself. I was nervous for the people. Why was I nervous for the people? Because if the people weren't going to take their condition serious enough to turn out for an event that was about them, then it was useless.
Yes.
As far as I was concerned. And I took what we were doing serious. But in the middle of the field, there was an older white woman who came in the middle of the field about 20, 30, 40 feet out from the stage. She opened a little chair and she sat down in the chair and she was knitting. So I said, well, maybe she's seeing a flyer because all it said on the flyer was a Poor People's Rally. So I walked easily over by her, and all I wanted to hear from her is, "I seen the flyer, I'm here early." I needed that.
Yes.
I needed that. But anyway, I said, "What made you sit here in front of the stage like this?" And what she said was, "Oh, it just seemed like a pleasant place to sit. I seen the stage there, and I just wanted to come here and knit." My heart dropped a little bit. I said, "Well, you sit right there. We're going to have a great event today. It's on its way." Tom, by the time I left her and walked back to the sidewalk, I turned around and she was gone. She was gone. And I knew that this older woman, there was no way in the world that she could get out of my provisional on the green with nobody out there like that. And 2:15, all of a sudden, here come Leo the Lion and all the sound system people bringing the system, and everybody, hurry up, come on, let's do this. Then the joy started coming in, and in the police department on the corner, the guy must have called back and says, "Is there any movement coming from the city?" And I heard it because I went close by. He said, "There seemed to be some movement coming from Grand Avenue. There seemed to be some movement coming from Congress Avenue. There seemed to be some movement coming from Dixwell Avenue, but it's a minor." And all of a sudden, Tom, I turned around and it was coming across the green, both greens.
Yes.
And what you see today is the actual news clipping. And the photographer, they played it down to about 3,000, a few thousand, but it must have been between that 7,000 to 8,000 people that turned out.
In 1977.
May the 15th, 1977. And I went home and got my mother and brought her down.
The tribes came together.
Yeah, they came together. Yeah, they came together. They really came together. They really want something. They wanted something then and they want something now. But it's just a different place now.
Well, again, and this in August, you're kind of reminding people that the past and the present and even guess our futures kind of gets one. If we're all the same heart and accord and let our hearts beat in unison, we can kind of make this future. From 77, I'm not going to jump immediately to 2024, but let's go to, and you can choose whether you want to go to the Brothers Getting Busy or the Christian Community Commission, or Unity in the Community. When was your first event at Gulf Street Park?
Well, actually the first event at Gulf Street Park was that summer of
Mm,
'77.
okay. Mm-hmm.
It was that summer. We thought we wanted to go celebrate in a different kind of way.
See.
Um, and so what it was is that I had actually grew up in Gulf Street Park as a teenager, young man, and so the festival was a 4-day festival when we first started.
Mm,
It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Can you
mm-hmm.
imagine that?
Mm, mm.
But we had a lot of entertainment back then. We had a lot of instrumental bands back then,
Yes.
a lot of choir, a lot of jazz musicians.
Yes.
We I don't know if people really realize that New Haven used to be the jazz capital of Connecticut.
Yes. Yes. Jesse Hameen kind of talks about that
Yeah, just yeah,
when you mentioned
absolutely.
Leo the Lion. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And
Gold Stars.
so yeah, so we had an abundance of musicians, abundance of bands. You know, they're trying to copy Kool and the Gang, and you know, the Earth, Wind and Fires, and you know, all the groups that were out there, the Commodores. So everybody was trying to emulate.
Mm-hmm.
We had the church choir, Vernon Jones, and all them, the
Yeah.
unity choirs, and so we had the churches. We had a very strong impact back then. Bishop Brewer and all, you know, Reverend Edmonds, and you know, I mean, Phil Potts, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
all the great pastors that were along that time. So New Haven, along that time, was a really blessed time, and uh, and I guess because you know people had felt like, well, I don't know if I really looked at if people felt I was an organizer or whatever, but it was always in my heart to do those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that as long as we were together collectively, there was a visible, what I call influence, and a visible I care power.
Yes.
Um, and we weren't seeing a lot of that being done outdoors and in our communities the
Mm-hmm.
way that I've had the experience to be able to participate with others to make that happen. Um, so that year, actually, Byron Breland, and Larry Conaway, and all those guys were in
Mm.
college and stuff like that. But my
Mm-hmm.
wife and Third World, and Alan Hardy, we had a small crew of people that were helping to organize that event, and it was great. It was great.
And you
Uh,
mentioned you're one of the first to kind of utilize the Gulf Street Park in this fashion. Am I correct?
I'm the first one. I'm the first one. I don't want to sound vain or nothing like that, but yes, I have been the first one to do a number. Matter of fact, I sent you a bunch of clippings before you even came on this video, so you're gonna have
Oh,
a whole
oh,
bookshelf
good.
of to read
Excellent.
that I sent to you.
Excellent.
Um, but yes, I was the first one along in the Unity in the Community times to do a number of events at Gulf Street Park in the '70s, and because that was just where the foundation was for our community. Is right there in the heart of our community, a park I grew up in, um, and so that was the first event ever on the New Haven Green like that, and then the first event ever in Gulf Street Park later on
Mm-hmm.
that summer, and we stayed there until we had to move over to Bowen Field.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Yes.
stayed there for about 3 years. Um, we had so many people that they thought it was better that we have the event in that time over at Bowen Field, and so we went for about maybe 5 or 6 good years on the unity and community in terms of that particular event.
Before we go to Brothers Getting Busy and Christian Community Commission, remind people again what's coming up in early August.
Okay, we're welcoming everyone to come up to the great 27th year Gospel Fest New Haven 2024, and it's an exciting year. It's a blessing to have it 27 years.
Indeed.
27 years, and we still can use sponsors. We still can use support. We
Mm-hmm.
can use volunteers. We're still opening for vendors. For those that might like to be a vendor, we just want to put it out there. They can call 203-624-9228. Again, that's 203-624-9228. And whether you're an artist, a painter, clothing, whatever, all whatever it is that you might want to display, you certainly can call that number and we can work with you and trying to definitely get you involved.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we've got great national people coming in, and we're looking for a great expectation.
The the brothers getting busy. It seems to me on those Sundays. Sundays are prime time, be it basketball or football or baseball or just family time, and for to bring people out on Sundays. And so a lot of the folks that came to the BGB meetings at Dee Dee's place, I mean, they'd already maybe gone to church before, so this was a really investment in you and an investment in the purpose of the BGB. Kind of talk about the brothers getting busy.
Yeah. Again, that was very special, and some of those guys are still around today. We meet as we go along, and it's a part of their history. And it could have never achieved what it was supposed to achieve without them. I want to say that number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got married, I got married. I was over on Howard Avenue, and I kept seeing the shootings, 1990,
Yes.
89, 90. Um, and I kept seeing the shootings on TV. The nightly news is just going through me, and it's and to tell you quite frankly, it's sad when we see the loss of our own young black men, and we are not addressing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and having had the experience, Unity Community and all those things, I said we got to do something about that. So I called together a few guys, you know, and we all sat down and we talked. I said, listen, we got to go to the street corners.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever violence is, we got to go to help these young guys and all understand that we're crippling our community by, homicide, shooting, drug dealing. We just can't have it. To give them understanding that our role is to protect and
Yes,
guide and look over our children and our people,
that's
and
right.
not to be out here the way we were. Um, and so the question was asked a couple of times, aren't you afraid to go into those areas? I said, certainly not. Because I feel like, that every area that I go into, first of all, I relate those people as my brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not looking at you as you're a bad guy, you're doing this here. I'm coming because we love you like this here, and this is what we got to say. And so what it was is that we had the yellow shirts. I got my yellow shirt on today.
Yes.
And what it is that, so we started going out, but we knew also that we needed to do like a weekly coming together of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So we began these brothers getting busy dialogue with all the leadership,
Yes.
even
Yes.
pastors and
Yes.
even John Barber, Reggie Mel. I mean, every had who was the superintendent at that time? John, what was it? Superintendent when John Daniel was mayor.
Yes. 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 His name will come to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what it is that we invited them.
John Dow. Yes, John
Yeah,
Dow.
John Dow. That's right,
Mm-hmm.
John Dow. You're absolutely correct. John Dow actually took this picture and laminated it for me and sent it to me and said, we're proud of you at the time, because that was when the time when Brothers Getting Busy was going to the street corners. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
he sent a clipping that he clipped out. But we were inviting them to discuss where their positions were.
Mm-hmm.
We were inviting pastors, to, where were their positions were. We were inviting, organizations, groups that, where's your position? We
Mm-hmm.
just wanted that discussion. And brothers getting busy had an opportunity almost like every Sunday afternoon, like we have a church up on the second floor over on Gulf Street, and it was
Mm-hmm.
packed.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
packed every Sunday. And some of the young men, like Michael Jefferson, all was all college bound, and then the time and Shafiq's and all the other day. We had some. We just felt good about it.
Mm-hmm.
We felt good about it. We felt good about the discussions, which we don't see. We don't see. We have left out discussions that are meaningful and purposeful. Purposeful. Not even then, but even more so now. I mean, but uh, brothers getting busy. We had bikes. We all got
All
bikes.
right,
We
that's right.
rode
The
through the
bikes. I forgot
city.
about the bikes. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had about maybe 15 guys riding bikes. Going into the same neighborhoods that we had left,
Mm-hmm.
just to reinforce our presence, to reinforce that we cared. Also, it was a reinforcement for our families.
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, to feel like at least some of our men, some of our brothers do care about us enough, to take a forward effort to be able to say, this is not where we should be. This is not what should be happening. So brothers getting busy, it was really, I was really, really
Indeed.
proud to be connected.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Take me to the next chapter, and there's various episodes and chapters that we may not get a chance to discuss now. But the Christian Community Commission, the Christian Community Commission. I'm so glad we had a chance to chat for people to see the metamorphosis, to see the evolution, to see the creativity. This is just so important.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell whoever's listening that you have been there yourself. Um, and that's why I don't really do interviews. And I said, well, I could do an interview with Tom. I
I
really don't. I
appreciate
really
that.
don't. But everything I'm talking about, every time I turn around, I see Tom Fickley. Somewhere, somehow, some way, you are historically tied into the city in ways that today a lot of people have not been in the way that you have been.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and in the same manner, like once I gave my life, to God, and and during the time I was with Apostle Brunson,
Mm-hmm.
who is my pastor,
Yes.
um, we we talked about the Christian Community Commission, which the name means the Christian Community Commission, which means the Christ-like spirit in the community on a mission.
Mm.
The Christ-like spirit in the community on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole goal of the Christian Community Commission then, and the whole goal commission is today, is to increase a spiritual awakening.
Mm.
Um, the goal is to be able to do it in a festivity kind of manner,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where we can come and enjoy ourselves, where we're not going to over preach you, but you come to listen to good gospel music. Um, you know, um, and the word gospel in itself means, the good news
Yes.
of what Christ has done for us. And so, therefore, what it is that, the Gospel Fest, prior to it even coming, we were doing prayer walks all over the city. My,
That's
my
right.
thing is
That's
getting
right.
out there. That's always been
Mm-hmm.
my,
Mm-hmm.
who I am. Um, and we was able to again go into a number of places before the festival actually came into play, and everything mushroomed and grew out of Gulf Street Park.
Mm.
Anytime I've ever done a major event, it came out of Gulf Street Park, even going back to the 70s to where we are today,
Mm-hmm.
2024.
Mm.
And I do want to say this here. There's so many events that happen at Gulf Street Park. I can't name them all, but there's so much to say. One of the events that we was really proud of the Christian Community Commission before we actually did the Gospel Fest is that we wanted to encircle the entire block of the county jail
Yes.
to pray for the incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we wanted to do the entire block, Willie
Yes.
Avenue, County Street, Gulf Street, and Hudson Street. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to put a circle around that whole entire block, but everybody met at Gulf Street Park.
Yes.
And lo and behold, believe it or not, me and Apostle Brunson was standing in the park at Gulf Street Park, watching as they was walking out and circling the block, and we just didn't think we were going to make it until they came down County Street and turned back on Gulf Street,
Mm,
and we encircled the whole entire block.
mm, mm,
500 people or more.
mm.
It was major. And it all happened out of Gulf Street Park. Gulf Street Park, the Gale Fields, what they called it. But when I
Mm-hmm.
was coming up, it was called Beaver Pond Park.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When it used to be a little pond in Gulf Street with a little run around circle thing you could run around and then jump on it and it would twirl around
Right.
before the basketball court was even there.
Yeah.
Uh, very peaceful park. And because I grew up on Carmel Street, all my friends were on Hudson Street and Sherman
Mm-hmm.
Avenue and
Mm-hmm.
all around that area. So we all used to get over when we were 13, 14, 15 at Gulf Street Park.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah, you know. And
Talk.
so again, coming back, I'm talking about Christian Community Commission. So the Gospel Fest is an offshoot of bringing the churches together and everybody else together to enjoy a weekend of fun, educational information, uh, to uh, to honor the music that came, the
Mm-hmm.
gospel music that came before us in our history, and to inspire, to move forward, you know what I mean, and to increase people and to build a relationship with God.
Indeed.
This year, our theme is for the Gospel Fest. We don't put a lot of themes on the Gospel Fest as we went along. We've had a few themes, but this year, the theme, the spirit of the theme is, the power of prayer.
Mm, mm,
The power of prayer. Now, we're not telling anyone to seek out a certain denomination. We're not telling anyone, what they should do as who they pray to, but I pray to Jesus. My relationship with Jesus Christ. And the thing is that I'm non-denominational, but I do know we're living a time where the reality is that prayer has power.
mm.
We may not see all that we pray to when we do give our prayers, but we need to be on one accord. For there is a scripture that says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, he said, I would hear them from the heavens, forgive them of their sins, and heal the land.
Mm, mm, mm,
Second Chronicles 7:14.
mm-hmm. Donald, I want to ask you if it's okay about your Damascus Road experience or the conversion, if you will, or you can phrase it any way you want. But before I do, share with folks a little bit about the breakfasts at the COC. I just want people to see that the organizing that you've done over these last few decades, this is not a one-off or every year or every other year. This has been a continual momentum from 1977 on, but also the breakfasts at the COC.
Yes. You know, the things that brought the COC from the Brothers Getting Busy Sunday, sometimes you have these moments where there's seasons, what I call seasons,
Mm,
where you'll get a great work done and things seem to be okay. The awareness is there. Then it kind of disintegrates a little bit. Um, During the Christian Community Commission time, it seemed like in 2005, 2004, that violence jump came back again. It just
yes.
like from the 90s to 96, 97. Then it went down for a dive for a minute. Then here it comes back in 2000 again, and we see like we was in the same place
Mm,
almost again. Those meetings at the COC were called the Brotherhood Leadership Summit.
yes. Yes.
The Brotherhood Leadership Summit. And again, I was in a position to say, let's have a summit, a Brotherhood Leadership Summit. And what it was that, We held that summit in 2005. I got the clippings and things in 2005. And we started from Trinity Temple Church and we ended up over at the COC buildings with a number of workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the workshops, one of the workshops that we came on that weekend, we came to the conclusion. What was the conclusion of that first gathering of that weekend? And it was to, number one, men needed to be more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Two, that we needed to be more engaging in our communities. And three, that we needed to be in some kind of consistent coming together on a monthly basis.
Yes.
And that's when we began to have those monthly Brotherhood Leadership Summits over at the COC building. It was important. It was really important. And I've had a lot of energy, and I give God the thanks for it. I've just been a consistent energy because I just never wanted to see us go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I've been around a lot of good people. I mean, I give props to a lot of great, wonderful people.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? Um, that helped me along the way. And certainly my relationship with God has helped me to keep a foundation. I've been with my wife for 45 years now.
Amen. Amen.
We're
Amen.
Dee and Dee been together 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
We got married in 2000, but we had a son and
Mm-hmm.
things. But and I'll say this here too, which you probably didn't hear of. Um, at Bethel Church, not Bethel Church, but at Bishop Brooks Church.
Beulah Heights, uh-huh.
Yeah, Beulah Heights, just before before the COVID. I had a breakfast there with all of the leaders. I mean, you said, well, who all the leaders were? Well, everybody went there, but you had at that time Campbell, chief of police.
Mm-hmm.
You had Higgins from Yale University, chief of police. You had Mayor Tony Harp,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Marks, Scott X,
Mm-hmm.
Bishop Brooks. We had, we even had Kimber. I invited Kimber
Mm-hmm.
at that
Mm-hmm.
particular one. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And we actually had Karen Walton Du Bois. We had,
Mm-hmm.
we had Gary Holder Winfield. We had, Tony Harp. We had not Tony Harp, Tony Walker.
Mm-hmm.
We had Robin Porter at the breakfast, and that morning of the breakfast, I told my son to go outside and find me a brick.
Mm.
He said, Dad, why do you want a brick? I said, just go find me a brick and
Yes.
clean it off and bring it to me. Bring it to him. We're taking it to the breakfast.
Yes.
So I took the brick and I put it in a bag. When I got over to the breakfast, um, which was the first breakfast, when I got over to the breakfast, I put the bag in the middle of the floor before anybody came, was sat down for the breakfast, and the breakfast tables were set up in a square. So even some of my guys that were with me asked me, did I ever want to move the bag? I said, no, leave the bag, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came time after Brooks spoke and Walter spoke and Karen spoke and Scott Mark spoke and Scott X spoke and everybody did their little speaking, then it got time for me to come up and have a few words. I said, well, I'm not going to be with you long, but I said, everybody's looking at the bag, right? Everybody said, yeah, one of them was in that bag. So I reached in the bag and I pulled out a brick. I pulled the brick out. And I gave them the scripture of the woman who had committed fornication and was thrown before the Lord. They said to stone her
Mm-hmm.
because she had committed fornication, adultery. And so therefore what it was, and they asked Jesus, should we brick her? They just wanted to be able to see what he was going to do.
Mm.
And so, as you know, as a man of God, actually, a Yale theologian. I don't know if people know that.
Would you continue with your stories, please? That's another show.
Anyway, make a long story short, is that the brick was that I said, no one threw the brick at the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was said that first one without sin cast a stone.
Yes.
My message was we're good brick throwers at one another, even at
Mm,
leadership.
mm,
We spend more time throwing the brick rather than taking the bricks and building from it.
mm,
And that was one of the reasons why I really had that done as an example, as at that first breakfast. And the second breakfast, I brought a basketball and
mm,
had it in the bag, and there was one with it. So it came time for me to speak. I pulled the basketball up. That was the second breakfast.
mm-hmm.
And I passed the ball to Brother Higgins
Yes.
at that time because he was there. I threw the ball to him and I said, Brother Higgins, now the ball's in your hand. What are you going to do with it?
Mm,
What are you going to do now the ball? What does a leader do when the ball's in his hands or
mm-hmm.
in her hands?
Mm-hmm.
You wanted the ball. You said, if I can just be in that position and do such and such a thing, I'll do this.
Yes.
But once the ball is in the hand, the question is, what are you going to do with the ball that you have in your hand? And I said, like, from a basketball perspective, no one wanted you to throw the ball. You was always on the side. And here we are, the last few minutes. The score is tied. Now it's your chance to. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to pass it or what?
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Higgins gave me a call. He said, Pastor Morris. He said, I went home and told my wife. I hope you don't get mad at me. So I went home and told my wife. I said, we was in the breakfast this morning, and Pastor Morris sent me the ball, and he asked me what was I going to do with it. And he said, I never really thought about it from that perspective.
Mm,
And he said he came to the conclusion that while being a leader, he was more of an introvert.
mm,
You know, carry most things on the inside and only release them when necessary. We have a lot of leadership like that.
mm,
For whatever reason, they hold a lot of gifts, but never release them
mm.
unless they're motivated. I give God the honor, but because I believe and hope that He has used me an example in many cases. I've been blessed to do a lot of things. I'm still here today to be able to do the Gospel Fest. Uh, the park, like I said, I want to see that.
I mean, let's talk. Let's talk about the park, and not only just the park, but the infrastructure of the park, and really that magnificent structure that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were instrumental in that, in the stage being erected. But I want to before we conclude, let's give a shout out to and an homage and really recognition to your running buddy. I mean, you mentioned every name you mentioned is of equal stature. But it seems to me that a short person, you can tell him I said so, Mr. Brunson, Reverend Brunson,
Yes, yes.
let's lift up his name a little bit. I mean, he's been putting some air underneath your wings, so it seems to me over the last.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And forgive me for not doing that. So much has been so much going on. But yes,
Mhm.
especially doing the Christian Community Commission, he was very instrumental. He is my pastor. There's a story even leading up to that, but you end up saying that's another whole story. But yes, Apostle is the chairman of the board of the Christian Community Commission.
Mm,
I am the executive director under the Christian Community Commission. And we have, our board, some of people have passed on since we first started, but the thing is that he has been a major, major inspiration to everything that I've done, particularly from the 90s up until even to today. Him and I are like, someone calls Mutton Jeff,
indeed, indeed,
and
indeed.
so what it is that like for years Apostle Brunson and I and the board we've had our office over at 316 Gulf Street right across from the park,
Hmm.
and so we was able to look out that window every day and look at the park and the structure of the park, and had it not been for Apostle Brunson and the board, we said like it was just a challenge every year to get a stage, a mobile stage to come out and put out on the court. And we had Yolanda Adams that year, and Donna
Mm,
McClurkin came the
mm,
following years. We had some really heavyweight people coming,
hmm.
and
Hmm.
it just didn't seem right to put them on a mobile stage with the
Right.
national appeal that they had.
Yeah.
So we had gotten a guy from Yale. He was an architect, and we said we wanted to draft off a a look of what the park could become
Yes.
or look like, and said he would do it for pro bono. So he drew the park, drew the stage and drew a stage and a playground, a horseshoe pitch, new basketball court, and a walkway. The walkway, actually, the walkway that we had was going to actually walk through the baseball field, but we just couldn't hit that one. But anyway, at the time that we had gotten it done, it got out that we were putting together a pro bono look of Gulf Street Park, and we had a big meeting over at Hill House High School with the community and everybody. We brought our design, and Bob Shealy. Bob Shealy was the director then of the park, and he came out. They came out with something that they thought, but at the time, we, everything went well. We said, we definitely said this is the way we would love to see the park. To make a long story short, John DeStefano was actually the mayor at that time. And Karen DuBose Walton, who was the chief executive officer for John DeStefano at that time, we really did not know, Tom. We didn't know how we were going to get the supplies, how we were going to get the finances, to make all what we wanted to be a reality. And for a gorgeous park that is today and has been uplifted since that time. And we want to thank the mayors and everybody that's done something presently. But what it was is that it seemed like our organization in the city, which had a lot to do with Karen at that time, because she had made the movements, to be able to bring that together in 2022. 2022. Right after, we had, I think it was Donna McClurkin that year, and maybe who else we had? We had a lot of people at that time. Then Popeye's Chicken and Biscuit came in. Well, but anyway, make a long story short, the festival was coming up that year, and we had, I forgot who we had. We had Karen. We had we had somebody really big coming. A few people coming in big. We had to get that stage. Do you know? I sent you some of the pictures, and I'll send you some more. How it looked that weekend. We were always coming to Gospel Fest. I was almost like, are we going to be able to have it? Do you know they employed grass from Windsor Locks on trucks? And Karen, all of us were out there on that weekend. You know how they cut the grass up, put it down. They leveled it off. The stage was beautiful, but no grass. It was just dirt. And so we was able to get the grass, put it around the stage, and the basketball. It was just and Apostle Brunson, and I, Karen, and a couple of others. We was out there that whole weekend.
Yes.
It just became a beautiful sight, and we now have the only. Tom Ficklen has the only stage in the state.
It's in my ward.
As the alderperson
Ward 28
of a stage of that caliber.
Thank you.
and because you carry the history of my involvement, I respect and honor you, and quietly, you're not a person, what you do. And I told you before, you need to really be able to get all that you've done in terms of pictures. You took a lot of pictures.
Yes, yeah.
You need to get that stuff and put a book together, because New Haven, that's history right there.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's history right there. That book needs to become it's a pictorial book, and I think that it would grow big and and make you a lot of money.
I accept that. Donald, we have like 3 or 4 more minutes. Let's wind down in terms of spiritual transformation. What do you want to say to folks? Because again, you've been transparent about your life journey and your evolution and your development and your continued passion. What do you want to say to folks about keeping their hope alive, keeping their creativity burning, keeping them stimulated to always aspire to be better? It doesn't have to be a spiritual decision, but certainly something can sometimes gravitate or motivate people to kind of aspire to be a better self. What would you like to say to people in that regard?
Well, one of the things that has really maybe inspired me now, Martin Luther King in one of his speeches says that longevity has its place. And that means that there's a preciousness of life that we should not take for granted. Every day is a blessed day. Every day is a day where we have an opportunity to be able to do good and great things and appreciate, you know what I'm saying, the life, health, and strength that we got.
Mm.
We live in a country that most people wish that they, you know, did live here and are trying to get here. So my thing would be number one is that, like, you know, if you believe in the sun, in the moon, in the stars, that man did not take a ladder and go put them up there every night. There's someone responsible for that. And so whoever in your mindset that you feel is responsible for that, it's all about thank you,
Mm.
thank you,
Mm.
thank you, and appreciate the life that we have been given. Do the best we can to love one another. That's hard to say in the last days and time with all the craziness is going on, but we really don't know how much we need one another. We're strong. We were never meant to be individualized.
Yes.
We were meant to be socialized.
Mm.
So just be encouraged. Know that there's a God, you know what I mean? And if you believe in prayer, you know, let that begin a part of who you are, you know what I mean, in the coming years.
Excellent. And your current location again? You're on
I'm on
Chapel
the
Street.
corner of Chapel and Norton, 1570 Chapel Street, corner of Chapel and Norton is where my church is right now. And we've been there now for going on 5 years now. But we've been,
Excellent.
you know, our church, I've been Apostle Brunson for 30 years, but and I'm still underneath him. He's still my pastor, Apostle Brunson. Eugene Brunson, still my Wayfaring Ministry. He's still my bishop, my pastor.
And what's taking place in early August?
In early August, August the 3rd and the 4th, you waited for it and now it's coming on August the 3rd and 4th, the 27th annual of the Christian Community Commission Gospel Fest 2027 on Saturday, August 3rd and 4th. For more information, call 203-624-9228.
Excellent. And in 30 seconds, as we conclude, Jerry Green.
Jerry Green, Jerry Green. Me and Jerry as well. I mean, I have to talk about. There's so many brothers, but yes, Jerry Green definitely where he's actually my side buddy along with
That's
Apostle
right.
Brunson.
That's
He's
right.
on the board and he works with me with all the entertainers coming in, and so he's doing a great work. And Jerry Green is he got his own radio station WJRG,
Mm-hmm.
the only internet radio station in the state, and he's
Yes.
doing great work. So shout outs to my main man Jerry Green.
All right. All right. I'll see you soon. See you soon.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Always okay, Tom. You keep up the great work, okay?
I'll try. I'll
Yes,
try.
sir.
I
Okay.
promise.
Okay, Tom. Okay, take care now.
All right.